cactus and succulent growers, it's Lynn, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about should you and can you bottom water your cactus. And this was actually a question from my wonderful subscriber G Matt, and he asked me this question. I said it's actually going to be a very good video to make because I often get asked this question as well. And by bottom watering, I'm talking about watering cacti from the bottom, and they take the water up this way from the bottom upwards rather than watering them from the base or on the top. Now, first of all, I'm going to answer the first part. Can you bottom water cacti? Well, yes, you can, and there's certain times when it's the only way you can water them is from the bottom. For example, if you have a cactus that's very overhanging and there's no room around the pot to actually water it. I'm going to show you this example here. This is my one of my echinopsis ones, my snowstorm, and up until recently I repotted it only a few days ago, and I made a video when I did. Up until recently this was in a pot where it was actually overhanging from the pot. I couldn't reach with my watering can or my watering nozzle to actually water this, so I had to water it from below, and that's why I've repotted it, because it was the only way I could water it until I've repotted it into this much wider pot where I can reach now. And sometimes this is the case as well with certain types of cactus plants. You know, if they're overhanging, such as a lot of mammillarias and other type of plants, then the bottom watering is probably the easiest way to water them. However, saying that, should you bottom water? Well, ideally, if you can, water from either above or close to the base as possible. Such as here, this is quite a one that's taken over a lot of the pot. This will also need to be repotted probably next year. This is a mammillaria, and obviously if I can get as close as I can there to water it all around, and wait until the water comes out the bottom and make sure that the soil is thoroughly watered, it's much better to do it that way. And the reason why I personally prefer not to bottom water if possible is because in my experience, cactus plants that I've had to bottom water in the past, when I've gone to repot them, I notice that the roots will be very stringy. And this is because watering from below, such as this, going upwards, can encourage roots to be a bit more stringy and come out the pot a little bit quicker than they should. When you're watering from around the top of the cactus or from above, the root ball will be much more compact when you go to repot. So it's better if you can to water close as you can, obviously from the top of the cactus, around the base, or overhead watering, whichever method you prefer to do. So should you? Well, you know, should you water from below? I personally would recommend watering from the top or as close as you can around the base of the cactus. That's just in my experience. But you know, can you water from below? Of course you can, depending on how your cactus is growing and if you can reach around it. If it's one that needs repotting, I'd recommend probably repotting it into a wider pot so you've got more space to water around. Now, this is one of my Echinopsis cactus plants, Echinopsis subdenudata. It's in bud. It's sort of been blooming sort of on and off all through the spring, summer. And there's another bud there, as I say. Now, I will have to repot this one. I may not do it now till next spring. And it's very plump and healthy, and no need to worry about that. But I notice, as I can show you here, it's very difficult to water a cactus like this because it's overhanging. The roots aren't coming through the bottom, but it is desperate to go in a much wider pot. And the problem with this is when it does come to watering, if I was watering it from the top, there's not going to be any water reaching into the root ball here. So what I would recommend in this case, until you can get to repot your cactus, which I will have to do with this one, you want to make sure if you are bottom watering that you put a little saucer here and make sure it's quite deep, at least 1 inch deep. And that means you can sit it in the water like this, and you want to make sure that comes up to the top. I wouldn't do lots of little bottom watering, such as a saucer. This isn't very deep, so if you just put it up with water and then then it takes the water up, and then you don't water it again. It's the water's only going to come up halfway, and you want to make sure that the whole of the root ball has been watered, which is why I recommend, if you can, always watering from the top around the base of the cactus. That's ideal. But it's in circumstances like this, then you have to bottom water. Now, as you can see, that the water's already going down. This is very dry, desperate to be watered anyway, and I would leave it like that, probably an hour or two. This will completely go and take up all the water, and then I will know when to stop watering, and I will know when the root ball has been moist and watered thoroughly, because I will stick my finger in now where that is dry. After a couple of hours or so, and this water has gone down, this should feel damp. Not soaking wet, because you don't want to soak in wet cactus either, but this should feel damp, because then it means that the water's been taken up and the plant has took it all up, and the whole of this root ball will be moist then. And then that's okay. If by chance this is all gone, and then I still touch around the base here and it still feels dry, I'll put some more water in again until it takes it up. Once this is moist, and it doesn't matter, I'm just going to show you that this is if you've got some part of the soil free where you can stick your finger in and feel it's damp. Then once it's damp, I will empty out any remaining water in the bottom of the saucer then straight away. I wouldn't let a cactus sit in a saucer of soil in water any longer than a couple of hours. Now, if you have a plant that is very overhanging and you have no part free where you can reach in and check if the water has gone through, then the only thing I can recommend then is by lifting it up by the weight. And a cactus that should have most of its root ball watered all the way through will feel heavy. You'll lift it up and it will feel it's got weight to it. And if you pick it up before you water it and it feels very light, and you bottom water and then it takes up all the water and you lift it and it still feels quite light, then I would put some more water in again until that has been taken up from the bottom. And then after 2-3 hours, and if there's any water still in there, you lift it up and it feels heavy. Yes, it's taken up the water, then I'd empty it out. So yes, you can bottom water cacti, but should you? Well, I personally wouldn't recommend it unless you have no alternative like this one. And the best thing to do in this case is to repot your cactus into a wider pot where you have got some space. So I hope you found that video useful. And I've also made a video on when do you stop watering your cacti for the winter months. As I say, it's late summer here. I'm still sort of watering my cacti. Lovely, beautiful, warm, sunny day today. So these are all still quite actively growing. But in the next couple of weeks, I will stop watering all these totally, so they're completely dry for their winter rest. And I did make a video last year on when do I stop watering my cacti for winter. So do check that video out. I'll link that video up above and down below in the video description, because it's coming up to that time of year when sadly we have to think about that with winter lurking around. And I've also made a video on how to water cacti and succulents as well, if you're new to growing these amazing plants and want to know a little bit more on how to water cacti and succulents. Links to that video will also be up above and down below in the video description. So thank you all so much for watching, and for lots more tips and tricks, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook at Desert Plants of Avalon. And for more growing tips, don't forget to check my website out, desertplantsofavalon.com. I want to wish you all a fantastic cactus powered day.